Okay, we'll start. Hello, I'm Rishit, and I'll be talking about the new Kubeflow distribution in town Civo. And if you remember in yesterday's talk about the new product offerings by Civo, Josh mentioned there's a marketplace app for Kubeflow already, which already exists. So that was contributed by me, and I'll be talking about how I built that Kubeflow distribution in this talk. And earlier, this was supposed to be a very technical talk with a lot of code, uh, and I had also built a lot of the content, how I optimized it for K3s and everything. But then I realized that there are too many distractions, mainly like lunch after this talk. So because of those distractions, I thought to make it a bit less technical and leave room for some more questions. But we'll still have a demo. So, but I'll not talk. I'll not go deep into it. Okay, so what's the plan for the day? So the plan for the day is to start by talking a bit about Kubeflow, uh, just give you a brief introduction about it, then talk about the Kubeflow Civo distribution, which I built, and I'll also talk a bit about how it works under the hood, and then I'll talk about how you can contribute to the Civo marketplace if you would want to. Cool. So, hello, I'm Rishit. Hello again. I'm a student at the University of Toronto and I work on Finch. The emoji is interesting because it's an actual rocket we are building. I research machine learning and computer vision. I also contribute to quite a lot of open source projects, and needless to say, I love open source. So, I'll start by talking a bit about Kubeflow, and one of the main problems when you do deep learning, or if you have been doing deep learning, is have you tried training deep learning earlier? Have you tried training a transformer from scratch? If so, all of this is really bad, probably a nightmare. So it's not so easy now, is it? And this is just one part of it. This is just the ML code part of it, which is already really hard. You try training a transformer or a GAN from scratch without the right warm up, and you probably spend thousands of dollars with nothing. So it's hard to train machine learning models, but that's only one part of it, the machine learning code part of it. But then there is data collection. And once you collect the data, you have to do data verification, feature extraction, and then your friend comes and tells you that you have to do all of this infrastructure related stuff. And then you have to deploy the model, which is even harder than the machine learning code. So it is quite hard to deploy models, isn't it? And it's even harder to deploy end-to-end machine learning applications, not just models. So a production solution requires much more than any of this, than just machine learning code. So this is quite hard to do, and Kubeflow helps you do exactly that. It makes deployments of end-to-end machine learning workflows on Kubernetes simple, portable, and scalable. So what this means is essentially you want to allow Kubernetes to do what it's best at. Things like auto scaling, serving, infrastructure management. You don't want to do all of this by yourself because Kubernetes is already really good at it. And I'm assuming a lot of you might have used Kubernetes earlier and can concur that Kubernetes is already great at doing all of these things. So you just want to let Kubernetes do what it's best at, and Kubeflow allows you to do exactly that for machine learning. And it's not tied to any particular tools. You can use TensorFlow, PyTorch, or you can use any other framework, or you can also just have your own framework up there. You can essentially use it however you want. And one of the main reasons I particularly use it for my own work, for my own research as well, is it runs on top of Kubernetes and makes use of all the benefits of Kubernetes, which is pretty nice to have. So the other thing is Kubeflow is a lot of components. So you have the central dashboard that gives you a UI to manage everything. There's notebooks if you want to do machine learning experimentation. There are trainers if you want to train machine learning models. You can also use Volcano with it, which if you have been working in HPC, you might know allows you to do distributed training very well. Then you have pipelines, you have hyperparameter tuning. So there are a lot of these components, and all of these come together to make Kubeflow, and it kind of covers everything in machine learning. So that's nice, but so this is the Kubeflow user survey. So all of these components make it pretty nice, right? Because it's a complete tool now. You can do end-to-end stuff with Kubeflow. But here's the Kubeflow 2022 user survey, and more than 30% people mentioned that installation was a big problem for them, and probably even more than 30% because of the survivorship bias. So a lot of people still have problem with installing Kubeflow, and it's hard. It takes quite some time. Documentation tutorials are also another big problem, as identified in the 2022 Kubeflow user survey. And this survey was filled by people who are already using Kubeflow. So ideally, even more people face the installation issue, and all these other issues. So this is a big thing, but why is it a big thing? Okay. So it is a big thing because Kubeflow is 627 Kubernetes resources, 73 CRDs, 49 deployments, 6 namespaces, and a lot more. So when you have 627 Kubernetes resources, so this is accurate as of the latest version of Kubeflow. When you have 627 Kubernetes resources, there are 627 ways to fail. You have to manage all those versions. You have a different Kubernetes version, you have to manage that. You run anything on top of Kubeflow which conflicts with any of those 627 Kubernetes resources, you again face a problem. So it becomes pretty hard to deploy Kubeflow just because it makes it a complete tool, but in making a complete tool you have all of this, which as you might assume is a bit hard to deploy and takes quite some time as well. So what you want to do is essentially make 627 resources work together. Interesting, isn't it? And you not only want to make it work together, but you want to make it work with your Kubernetes version, or you want to make it work with any other setup. Probably you have K3s, probably something on top of Kubernetes, probably something you use for observability, something you use for monitoring. So you want to make it work with all of this, with your existing setup, which becomes pretty hard. So what we want to do is, what this helps in doing is have a Civo app to automate it all, and you're not tied to Civo. I'll be showing the demo with Civo, but you're not tied to Civo. You can essentially deploy it anywhere K3s runs, and there are a lot of benefits to this, which I'll talk about, but K3s makes it particularly easier and faster to deploy Kubeflow with all of its resources. And before we talk more, let's see a demo of this, and I'll show a demo of this distribution of Kubeflow on Civo, and it makes it particularly easy to do just the things I talked about. So let's see a demo of it, and I'm here on my Civo dashboard. What I'll try to do right now is just try to create a Kubeflow cluster from the UI, but you can most certainly use the CLI as well. But let's start by doing this. We'll have 5 nodes, make those large, and so now how easy it is made is you just go to management, and by the way, all of this is a Civo marketplace for any Kubernetes apps, and you can see Kubeflow is up here, and interestingly all of this is open source. So a while ago I just made a PR to add Kubeflow, optimize it for K3s, and add it to the marketplace. So you can also see how I handled some of the intricacies for optimizing K3s and making it work together. But right now we'll just see how to use it, which is as simple as adding the Kubeflow application. So now that we have added the Kubeflow application, let's just create a cluster, and it should take about 3 minutes on K3s, 2 minutes for creating a cluster, and another 1 minute for deploying those 627 resources, which is pretty fast. And that's another thing you get when a distribution is optimized for K3s. So it's creating a cluster. There it is. So it has a countdown. So Civo allows you to deploy clusters in 120 seconds, which is pretty nice. Also useful for this demo because I can show a live demo here. So that's pretty useful. But okay, while this happens, let's talk about the extension. But you saw how to install it, and it was pretty simple. But we'll talk about some more things you can do with this. Oh. Great. So we already saw the Civo application to automate it all, and it's essentially a distribution for K3s. So just like the previous talk was mentioning, there are multiple ways to run K3s, multiple avenues to run K3s. You can run the distribution wherever K3s runs. So yeah, it's not just Civo, but wherever K3s runs. Another interesting thing about this is it's not MiniKF. It's actually deploying those 700 Kubernetes resources. There's also avenues for smaller versions of Kubeflow. Because installation was such a big issue, the community developed smaller versions of Kubeflow called MiniKF. And it does not contain all the components as you might have expected. Makes the installation a lot more easier than maintaining those 627 resources. So, but what we are deploying is not MiniKF. What we are deploying is Kubeflow with every single of its components. And MiniKF gets you limited somewhere, cutting down on some of the Kubeflow components, which I did not like to do because I wanted to make use of the full power of Kubeflow. So what this does is it essentially uses the Kubeflow manifest under the hood. So Kubeflow manifest is an interesting way to install Kubeflow, and it's also officially supported by the Kubeflow community. What it allows you to do is it has customized based installations, and that's how it that's how it installs Kubeflow. Has all of its components as customized manifests, and what I tried doing is made modifications to these components and these manifests to be best optimized for K3s. As I was talking about, this is customized based installation, and adding newer components is also very easy. So right now what we are doing is, what we just did is try to deploy Kubeflow with all of its official components, but there are a lot of unofficial components of Kubeflow as well, probably something you're excited about, and you can still add it with Kubeflow. At the end, it's just a bunch of Kubernetes resources put together. So you can have your own components in Kubeflow as well, and you can integrate them with Kubeflow very easily. So adding newer components in this distribution is also very easy, and again, it's open source, so you can do it pretty well. And this is also the latest release of Kubeflow we are running, not any of the older releases of Kubeflow. So yeah, this is actually the RC release. We are not even running the stable release, the RC release. I have tried deploying that, and let's go to the cluster, see where it is at. So right now the cluster is created. The pods are not yet running. So what we'll do now is try to take a look at the kube config for this, and see if our pods are running yet. Great, so I have a kube config up now. I'll just download the kube config, and I've also tried to write a bit of documentation, not a lot. So you can actually take a look at the documentation here. Okay, probably, oh yeah, in installed applications. So we have some documentation as well, but I won't read documentation. That's usually how I work. So I'll just get the kube config up here, and let's start seeing if it has actually deployed everything. So I'll start by configuring kubectl to use the kube config, which was named Civo navigate. Yep, there we have it. And now I can just do kubectl get nodes, and this should show me that I have the 5 nodes I created. Yes, I do have the 5 nodes I created, and but what I need to check right now is if all of my pods are already running. It also takes some time for the pods to become ready. So what I want to do is check if all my pods are ready. Apparently they are not, or did we do something else? Interesting why it could not access the namespace. Well, let's I guess I might have made some typo in adding the namespace, because it should show some resources.
I think if you create a cluster and you launch a marketplace app, it might take a while sometimes for the app to get installed. Yeah, sometimes between 3 to 5 minutes.
I see.
So it's not like when your cluster is ready, your app is ready. So your cluster has to be ready first, and your app will come later.
I see. So might take a while for the application to get installed.
The more you select the apps to be installed, the longer it will take. Yeah,
I see.
because we have some background apps that
Makes sense.
It depends. Some apps are using Helm, some apps just plain manifest.
So what we'll try to do is give it a moment, see if we have the application installed. Ideally it should happen pretty quickly, and back when I was trying it was pretty quick. So though it might take some while to install the application, this is essentially how you can very easily install the application. And you can also do this with the CLI. We'll give it a moment to run and hope the demo works well.
Does Kubeflow have Helm chart that people can use? Does Kubeflow have Helm chart?
Sorry, come again?
Does Kubeflow have Helm chart that people can use? Like Helm install something?
So Kubeflow does have a partial Helm chart, but it does not have a Helm chart with all of its components, and which is also pretty hard to manage. If you have a Helm chart with all of Kubeflow's components, it becomes pretty hard to manage, and there does not exist a community Helm chart yet for Kubeflow. There is one for MiniKFlow though, so you can take a look at MiniKFlow, and there is a Helm chart for MiniKFlow that you can install. But for Kubeflow, there is no Helm chart.
Are there any CLI project like GitHub that we see just now that can help you with the installation? Like, I don't know what's the project name, something install and put your kubeconfig flag into it.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Was it like?
Does it has something like Ketchup project that we see just now that can help you install all this stuff using that program? Like
So-
Kubeflow install and pass all your details like the path to your kubeconfig, and it will handle the rest. Does it have something like that?
So as far as I know, there is no such project to install Kubeflow. I may be wrong, but back when I was creating the pull request for adding this application, back then there was no project to do this, which is why I tried to do it myself. But I might be wrong. There might be some application right now, but not that I know of. Sorry. So it takes some more time than I expected to install the application. And interestingly, I tried it this morning itself, and it seemed to work well. So I don't know what happened. But so ideally, if you wait some time for all the resources to be applied, what would happen is you would see a load balancer appear, and with the load balancer, you could get to the Kubeflow dashboard, and yeah, you could just start using Kubeflow.
You want to check from the CLI if they're ready?
Yeah, I could do that. Let's. So when you after you install the extension, it also appears over here on the UI. A load balance. You also see like a load balancer appear on the UI as well. Hmm.
So you initially you want to instance okay.
Let's take a look if any of the namespaces have been created yet.
Yeah, you get all the namespace.
Get namespaces.
So it seems the application might still be installing, and I'll not wait any further. But this is how it happens, and you can try it for yourself on Civo using the UI itself. But yep, that's about the talk. And open source is vast. There is a lot of opportunities for anyone to contribute, and you can also contribute to the Civo Kubernetes marketplace or create new applications. So that's about the talk. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
About the
Thank you. Just a quick question about the size. Is that basically the kind of the recommended size for running Kubeflow? Was it you had like a 5 large is what you had put in?
Yeah, so it depends a lot on what part of the machine learning workflow you are planning to run. So if you might want to actually train a model with Kubeflow, 5 nodes would essentially do nothing, and you would want to probably have 16 CPUs or more number of GPUs. But if you just want to explore Kubeflow, explore the application, you could run it on 3 nodes as well. Yeah, you could do it on 3 nodes as well. Just get Kubeflow up and running, the Kubeflow dashboard up and running. So yeah, it all depends on workload you want to do with Kubeflow. But yeah, if you want to just try it out, I suggest just starting out with three nodes, and that might help a lot as well.
Hi, so I had one question. So how will the app look out for new versions of Kubeflow? So does it get automatically updated, or do we need to make those changes in the actual Civo Civo Marketplace GitHub repository to update the actual version of Kubeflow itself?
Yes, so that's interesting, and right now it does not auto upgrade. That's the simple answer. Right now it does not auto upgrade, and ideally you would have to create the manifests and update the Kubernetes marketplace to support the new version. And right now there's no auto upgrades configured, but that would be probably nice to have something that we could work on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Oh. Yeah, from what I've seen during your presentation, you can deploy machine learning models onto Kubernetes, right? Kubeflow?
Kubeflow, yeah.
Yes, Kubeflow, and then you use Civo to manage Kubeflow, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I'll be honest. When I hear this word Kubernetes like thrown around, I didn't know what it was or how it was relevant to me, but now I do, and I must thank you for that.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.